Dave, and welcome to the Weird Kid Show. It's awesome having you here today. As I said probably in the last video or last few videos, this isn't going to become the Monster Bottle channel. Although I am telling you guys right now, I'm having a lot of fun doing these things. They're great, and I have a ton of ideas for these things. The big plan is I've got to line up and purchase some materials because there are other larger different things that aren't monster bottles that I have planned in the works. So subscribe, keep your eyes out for that, because it's not going to be all scopy. It's going to kick off before you know it with other stuff. Alright, I have a lot of plans. But as for today's video, it's going to be a shrunken head bottle. Basically, all you're going to need is a bottle, a vessel. This one here came with a cork. You can use like old, alcohol bottle, as long as it's got like a metal cap, as long as it's not a plastic cap. Or you could use a glass bottle that had a plastic cap, as long as you go and buy some corks. You can recycle some wine bottle corks. Or you could even drape it with some burlap and do a tie around it. Sometimes the apothecary bottles have that kind of a design. Basically, all we want now is just a blank canvas. We want this whole thing covered in cured Sculpey. Now I have a surface to work on. Now you could go as crazy as you want to. If you wanted to sculpt all the way around this thing, you can. I typically just pick a focal point, because when it's on a shelf, that's what you see is the focal point. So I'm going to put my little shrunken head right there, okay? And in order to do that, I'm going to get me some Sculpey. This is the type of Sculpey I buy. We are going to need to have some hair of some shape or form. Now you could take, if you wanted to, you could go to even the dollar store and buy a cheap dollar Barbie, a knockoff Barbie, and cut her hair off. Or maybe your husband, wife, daughter, son wakes up with a little bit of hair missing in the morning, you know? And then we're going to need some kind of a twine, alright? Or some kind of a thread. Twine works good for me. In fact, I have a different kind of twine. I don't think I'm necessarily going to use that. You can find all this stuff here. I find this Sculpey and twine and stuff like that. Pretty much everything I need at Walmart, and it's cheap. I don't even need to go to Hobby Lobby or anything. I am just going to make just a rough shape, pear shape, I guess. And I'll go ahead and stick it on this bottle. Alright. Push it on there. Make sure it's centered where I want. And then, as I've explained before, I'm going to go ahead and start pinching and pulling and tying it into this bottle.
Why do you say that, Father? You aren't afraid, are you?
No, but I respect some of the superstitions of others. Often they are founded in fact.
I'm not going to be too concerned about the finger marks over here now, because this is just a rough-in. When you do a rough-in, don't be concerned about doing fine details. A rough-in is just that. You're just positioning. Well, yeah, you're just trying to get the basic shape of things. And it's not until the end, when you're satisfied where, okay, I like the nose where it's at, I like the way the nose is looking, I like where this is and that is, that's when you start getting into the fine details and start cleaning up and sharpening or softening, whatever the case may be. Alright, so these are handy tools. They're called stylists. Alright, ball stylists. And I've got another one here too that's even smaller, but they're good. I use them to push in. This gives us the eye sockets, okay? So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and pull some of this away here on the sides, taper it off a little bit. It could always be filled back in, but okay, so now doesn't have to be pretty right now. Taper that down. So pretty much this is what I got right now. It's nothing really. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some clay and roll it into a ball. Alright. I want them to be the same size. And I'm going to take those balls and I'm going to push it right in that eye socket. But I'm going to pancake it. But I'm going to try to pancake it in a way to where it's kind of pear-shaped or closed eye shape. Alright, so I got that now. Alright. So now I'm going to take my tool. Excuse the noise, I got my plugs all here in the way. Now I'm going to just do a slit right here across. Okay. Do the same over here. Now that's basic, the most basic closed eyes. Okay? But there's no detail there yet. That's because we're gonna build around that yet, and then we're gonna get back in there. And the other thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and taper this off here and blend it in to the bottom. Okay. Like that. Same thing over there. And then I'm going to move on to, I like to go up here to the brow first. So in order for that to do that, I pinch off a couple of pieces of clay and turn them into snakes. Little grubs, if you will. Like this. Okay. Now, this is my first try. Okay, I'm going to put it on here. And I might find it's too big or too small. Alright. Put them on there. I'm going to go with that. So I'm going to pinch that in the back. Ooh, almost dropped it. And I'm gonna blend all this in. And like I said, I'm not worried about details. We're gonna move some clay around. We're gonna cut in some wrinkles and everything else as we start progressing along with this thing. Alright, so now just a basic shape. Now it could be almost anything. You could go any direction with this now. You can make a crazy looking creature or something like that. You can do whatever you want. Then I go on to the nose. Nose is always hard for me. That's one thing I struggle with. So what I like to do is I like to pinch. Basically, I'll make a shape like this. Okay, this might be too big. Again, I don't know. I'm going to fit it on there and then see. Now, this doesn't include the nostrils yet, because I'm going to build that on after. I'll stick that on there. Look at it. It's a bit big. So I can shave a bit off. Okay. You got tools like this. This is a sculpting tool, but then it has like a fine edge on one end there for cutting. Stick it on there. Okay, that's a pretty good shape. A little on the big side, but I can work with that. And then now in here, you start to get in the areas here to where you know, your fingers just won't cut it. You know, getting in there, so you gotta use tools to go ahead and blend in get everything tied in. Nothing here. Shave some of this down. Just gonna create creases and all that good detail. We're gonna want this guy wrinkly because you know he's not alive. He's been killed, and then his head's been removed. The skin from his head's been removed, and then his whole head's been boiled. The whole skin of his head's been boiled. So he's not feeling too ducky. And yeah, he's gonna have a lot of, there's gonna be some deformities and wrinkles and all that other stuff. So then I just take two little balls and I shove them on the end. And I try to blend it and work it in to the top here. Alright, so, but to me a nose isn't a nose until I put them nostrils in. Once I put them nostrils in, then it starts to come to life for me. But I'm not going to mess with that now. I'm going to move on to the next step. The next step for me is the cheekbones. Okay, and that's another thing that I have. This is a recipe that I follow. When I make my big shrunken heads, this is the same exact thing that I do then as well. I take clay and I make a shape like this. Okay, this is the thin part that's right here. Okay, so all right, and this part here needs to tie into this part of the nose, which it gets tricky, I know, especially when you start running out. So what I do is I typically need to, okay, I'll put it there, pull it down, start building, filling this thing out. I'm not worrying about detail. I'm gonna keep saying that because I know some of you are going to be tempted to, oh, well, let me work on this eye. I like this eye. Let me work on it. Well, that's fine. You do what you want, but my suggestion is to just rough it in. Okay, get everything where you want it to be, and then you start working on the details. All right, so now we got his cheeks in. Then, and I can already see it's got a little lopsided over there, and that's okay because I can blend and pinch and move stuff around. Well, we're starting to get in the face here. Okay, now the lips. Alright, so I'm doing this whole process for you guys right here. Now I'm going to leave you here in a second so I can work on fine detailing and show you what I do. And you know, hopefully you guys try this and follow this recipe because it works for me. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you, but it certainly works for me, and I use it for a tremendous amount of stuff here. Alright, so lips. I'll put top lip and bottom lip. Okay? I'm going to tweak this. Now he's got lips. Now he needs a chin. For that, and I do this with my monster bottles too. My little bottles. The last thing I put on is the chin. Even if it's sitting on, the chin's going to be on at the very bottom of the bottle. I make the bottom part of the chin that comes out as part of the support. I level it out with the bottom of the bottle, so that when you sit it down, you have extra support, and then you have this chin that's protruding out. And so here, I'm going to stick that on there. Like that. Pull it over and under. Okay. Now we have a chin. but now is where the work begins. What I just do with the nostril, I take like a little stylus or something, and then I'll just go in and create a nostril. Okay, once I've established where the nostril is, then that can help me to dictate where everything else goes, what I need to do. Alright, helps the shape. So that's simple, guys. I mean, that could be anything now. You know, you open up the eyes. I mean, I can show you another way to where you can make actual eyes and then sculpt eyelids over it. But in this case, the eyes are closed because it's a shrunken head. Alright, and so I'm going to work on some details of this, clean it up, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you what I did. So I appreciate you guys being here. Hang tight. We're going to come back here in a second. Alright guys, and we're back. Okay, and this is what I came up with. Alright. Not like, you know, it's a bit deformed here and there, but, you know, it's just shriveled up, shrunken head. Alright, and then, yeah, just working details in with tools, doing little wrinkles and stuff like that. And then at the end, I have, this is my oil brush. When I say that, I mean this is the brush that I assigned to using the baby oil to just brush it on and smooth out. Like if you got like chunky tool marks, or you see fingerprints, or there's something that needs to be softened, your oil or alcohol or clay softener, that's going to take care of it. And it's actually one of my sculpting tools. It's very important. Okay, so this is what we got, guys. Alright, the beginning of our shrunken head, but he doesn't look like much until we start tricking him out. So that's what we're going to do. The first thing that I want to do is I need to pre-drill some holes in here for the twine that's going to go on his eyes and his lips. Alright, so I'm going to go over here, just about there, and drill a hole. This is going to give me something to tuck the twine into when I glue it into place. Drill one there. I'm going to drill one underneath here. And I'm going to drill one here. So it's 4 holes per eye. 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom. Okay, now that all the holes are drilled in the eyes, I'm going to do the mouth. And I'm going to go just above the lip. I'm going to do one here. One underneath it. One right here. Alright, you can take a clean brush and just dust away the excess from the drill. Alright, so I got my holes pre-drilled. Alright, that's what I like to do first. Because now once I clean all that dust out of there, I'm going to be ready to paint it. Burnt umber. I'm going to paint the whole thing burnt umber. Alright, and you don't need me to show you how to paint this whole thing. Burnt umber, including the cap. Alright, so I'm going to do that with a little bit of movie magic. Just like that, it's all base coated. Burnt umber. Okay? Same thing with the cap. Alright, so now I can put this cap on here. That's what we're going to have. Alright, but we're just getting into the painting. Okay, now there's more extra steps in this than some of my other bottles, but I think once you see how it turns out, it'll pay off. Okay, so I painted burnt umber. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to paint the face. I want to do that first. You don't have to. You can paint the bottle first if you want, or whatever, which is just basically a dry brush. So I'm going to take some black, some white, and I'm going to mix some. I want kind of a charcoal, not too light. Alright, I like this. And I'm going to go ahead and dry brush the face that color. Charcoal gray. Just the face. This is where we're getting this, turn this thing into old, leathery, dried out, shrunken head. Get in there. I like to go, if I've got a ridge, you know, like the wrinkles, rather than running the brush down this way, which is going to get me painting those recessed areas, I'd rather go this way. Okay, and that way it's going to, we're going to still have that burnt umber underneath. Dry brushing's fun. I love it. This is going to be like my favorite part when you start bringing this thing to life. Alright, so I'm happy with that. Alright, but I'm not done yet. I want to take some more of that white, and I want to lighten up that gray even more. Now this is going to be the fine highlights. And I'm going to go crazy with this. Just going to focus on like the raised areas. Alright, so I'm going to lightly dust this thing. What I'm going to do, I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to make it a little bit darker. I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. Don't be afraid to play with it. And if you don't like what you're doing, or you don't like how it's coming out, the great news is that you can just repaint the whole thing and start over. Alright, so let's bring it down now. I'm liking that a bit better. Alright, so we still got those burnt umber undertones, which would be like leathery skin, and this gray charcoal for like dried out, give it a dried out look. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to go ahead. I got some, not much, I gotta get some more. Territorial beige, it's one of the colors I use a lot of. We're getting low into the bottom of the barrel here. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take my big chip brush. I use the chip brush to paint the whole thing the base color, because they're cheap. Every time I go and buy supplies, I'm in the habit of grabbing a little handful of these 1-inch chip brushes, because we go through them quick. Especially I use them too for latex and stuff when I get into mask making or working with latex or whatnot. And so I go through quite a few of them, because when you work with latex, it pretty much destroys them. Alright, so I'm just gonna go ahead and dry brush this bottom. Give it a weathered look. Now, you could do whatever you want. You want to put something different on top of the stopper, that's fine. I like the crudeness of these things, because it's obvious it's homemade, and that's something like you would see in like a witch's hut, or like a witch doctor or something like that. They'd have these primitive, crude, probably handmade bottle containing these different elixirs. So maybe this one here, we consider a poison maybe. If you give somebody this poison, they're doomed to become a shrunken head. We'll say that. So. Okay, so that's done. For the most part, the paint's done. In fact, it is done. Unless we add little ornate whatever writing or filigree or designs or whatever you want to do, it's time to move on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this twine here. You can get this at the dollar store too, pretty cheap. And we'll go through and we'll find some clean sections. I like to trim off the little fuzzies. Alright, and so when you cut it with a pair of scissors, you have a clean edge. Alright, remember those holes we drilled? So I'm not gonna do it here, but I'm gonna put a little dab of glue. You can put it on the string, or if you want to pour it right, try to get it right directly in the hole. I'm gonna take this and glue it inside the hole. Okay, so that it's sticking out like that. Okay, I'm not gonna glue it down to the second hole. I'm gonna bring it over here and crisscross it. Alright, so I'm gonna do that now. I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna show you the finished product, show you what I did and what it looks like, and then we're gonna move on to the hair. Okay, so hang tight, guys. Alright guys, and that's where we're at here. Okay, so we drilled those holes, and then I glued the end of the string into one hole and then crisscrossed over and glued it on the bottom on the opposite side. I did that for both eyes, and then did the same thing for the lips. Okay, so there we've got the making of a shrunken head, and I just went ahead and wrapped. I love twine. It's so earthy and really gives a primitive look to things. Ancient too, you know. So now it's going to be the interesting step. I'm going to go ahead and do this, but normally I would use silicone. I don't have any silicone. And I'm going to be using this stuff. It's called Yaki Perm. So it's a synthetic braid. Okay, and it does. It looks like it's like real hair. Normally I would use, like I said, I would use silicone to put this on. But I don't have it, so I'm going to use super glue. And this stuff is great though. Alright, so I'll take a section of this. And then first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some here on the top for the bangs. Alright, so I need to, this is a delicate process. This is not something that's easy. So I'm going to try to explain it to you the best I can. So basically I just cut a little bit like this, and I keep my fingers flat like this to try to keep it flat. Alright, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some super glue here on top of the head, and I'm going to lay this on there, and using a popsicle stick I'm going to rub it and work it on until it's, and I'm not worried about the overhang. We're going to give it a haircut at the end. Alright, so and then I'm going to do the same over here and just glue it on the side. Same method. Alright, so it's too tricky for me to, I got a lot of juggling to do, so I'm just going to go ahead and do the hair and then do a recap when we come back. So hang tight guys, we're almost there. It's done. Alright, this is what I ended up with. This is our shrunken head bottle. Okay, so all I did was, yeah, I put the super glue on the scalp and then started laying the hairs down and rubbing it in with the popsicle stick. You don't want to use your fingers because it'll bleed right through, and next thing you know, you're going to have hairy fingers. Alright, so use that popsicle stick. And then I just started filling in the sides. And then you might have to put a little bit more hair here where this top meets the side, so you don't see the see how it's meeting there. Yeah, and then I went and did a little bit more dry brushing on the bottle, and I wrapped this twine around here and on the cork and everything, just to give it more of a indigenous look. So there you have it, guys. I hope you like it, and I hope you try this. So if you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe and hit the bell to get notified when I upload future videos. And please check out my brothers in arms, Keith from Cobwebs and Candlesticks, and Vic Springston from Monster Misfits. And until next time, guys, I appreciate you. Peace.